All right, so just coming to sit comfortably. And make sure that the flesh of your buttocks is drawn out. You can sit with whatever sort of configuration of the legs that you want. So the traditional setup for the Iyengar practice is to cross at the shins rather than the ankles. And really that is just so that you can get this parallel line coming from the hip to the knee, and then the back foot is supporting the front foot's calf and shin. So it does feel a little bit uncomfortable initially, but it starts to feel a bit more stable in time. And then take your hands out to the side and turn the fingers out, turn the inner elbows to face forward, flatten the shoulder blades to the back and broaden across the chest. Make sure the head is loose and relaxed, neck is loose and relaxed, should I say. And as you're rolling the arms out, feel like you're doing that specifically from the kind of rotation of the arm is not only about the bones and the muscles, but feel like they're spreading the skin from the collarbones out to the kind of arm bone, the front of the arm bone, and then flattening the shoulder blades to the back, not squeezing them together, so there's still a bit of broadness across the back. Okay, and then from there you can bring your hands in and push into the fingertips to get a lift into the side body. So from the midribs up to the armpit, feel like you're almost kind of deepening the armpit and lifting the front armpit chest up. And then from the midrib down to the hip, feel like you are drawing that down. Okay? And then release one hand at a time to the knees without losing that length in the side body. And allow the elbows to soften slightly and draw down. And then pull a little bit on the knees if you're able to lift that front armpit up a little bit more and to tuck that back armpit in a little bit deeper. And then looking a little bit above your eye line, allow the eyes to gently close. And subtly kind of pull your face back. And feel how that helps you to draw the back of the head in line with the tailbone and come into a balance. Noticing the breath flowing in and out through the nostrils. Using the inhale breath to subtly encourage length in the spine. And the exhale breath to release unnecessary tension, particularly around the shoulders and the muscles and skin of the back body. So one way of thinking about it is on your inhale, you're lifting and lengthening in the front part of the body, which tends to collapse when you're in a seated position. And then we're drawing the back body together, but also allowing the musculature to soften so that we're using mainly the skeletal structure of the spine to hold the whole body upright, which keeps the front body open as well. And then once you get that skeletal balance, that's when you can let go of some of the muscular tension because the bones are taking the weight. So if need be, you can sway slightly forward and backward or slightly left and right just to find that point of balance. And you'll know it because there'll be more ease, but you probably won't be able to totally relax there because we're not used to sitting in a balanced position and it is balancing, right? But you can sort of shave off little bits of tension and keep that upright spine. Okay, and then as is tradition, we're going to bring our hands in front of our heart in prayer position, thumbs resting on the sternum and the rest of the fingers drawing away slightly. And we'll open the class with a chanting of 3 Oms. So if you feel uncomfortable about chanting out loud and just want to make the sound inside the mind, that's fine as well. If you are chanting out loud, you can also make the sound inside the mind. Take a deep inhale, exhale breath to empty the lungs completely. Inhale. Om. So inhale to extend the crown of the head upward, lengthening the spine one more time, and then as you exhale, bow the head to the heart. Release the hands to the thighs with the palms facing up. Inhale, raise the head up, and exhale, open the eyes. Okay, cool. All right, so we'll start out using one block underneath the head. So we're going to take our knees wide to the edges of the mat, have the toes touching, and sitting back onto the heels. You can remove any toes that might creep underneath, and remember, the optimal positioning of the legs is so that your bottom ribs are in contact with the inner thighs as you come forward and down. So not falling through your legs, but also not having them so close that you can't come forward. And then the block will be under your forehead, so you're going to extend yourself forward and then slide the block back so that you can get that contact on the forehead. So this will help with several things. Obviously, firstly, you can probably keep your buttocks down on your heels a little bit easier if the head is elevated. And it also helps to get equal stretch through the front, back, and sides of the neck. So just placing the head down on the block, imagine that you're kind of extending or try to extend the undercarriage of the body forward on an inhale breath. And with your head on the block, you should also be able to access that dorsal spine a little bit more, so allowing the dorsal spine to sink in as you extend the undercarriage of the body. And your arms, you don't want to overextend them forward, but they're definitely reaching forward. And we want to ground into that space between the index finger and the thumb. And then externally roll the arms out. So you're pushing down with your hands, right? You're pushing down with the fingers, the finger knuckles, fingertips, all those things. And as you push down, the forearms are lifting up off the floor and your elbows are going straight. So you're actually getting that push. That push is working into the shoulders, the upper arms, side body, etc. Quite active in the arms. And just checking in with the space that you have now, also with your head on a block. Okay. So this is different from that saying, you know, your head is now on the block. This is a good version of having your head on the block. All right. And then you can lift your head and slide the block away and let your head come down to the floor and just see kind of how it changes things. So it might be a little bit more challenging to keep your buttocks on your heels. Your front body might collapse a little bit. Can you still extend it forward and get that dorsal spine in again? So we're incrementally sort of dialing up the posture here. Hands pushing down, arms nice and straight, shoulders away from the ears. And you almost want to feel like you're sliding your undercarriage of your body forward in the sense that the skin on your forehead is moving towards your eyebrow ridge rather than towards the hairline, right? So you're not kind of dragging your chin towards the throat, you're lengthening the whole body forward out of the waist. Okay, and every time you kind of feel yourself noticing like what's going to happen next, or your mind wanders off, try and bring it back into the breath and the sensations of the posture and check where are you not working, where is there dullness, where is there no activity. So, you know, yoga is awareness training parading as physical exercise, right? All right, and then you're going to come up again, and now you're going to take both blocks and place them underneath your hands, and you can get your pinky finger, your small finger and your thumb to grip around the edges of the blocks and have the blocks like your heels at the edges of the blocks, and extend the blocks forward and bring your head down now. And that should challenge the shoulders a little bit more. So pushing into the block still, the palms of the hands pushing down, and feel how as you push down harder, it works more into the shoulders, and try to pull the shoulder blades away from the ears. So if you feel like you're overextended, you can take the blocks a few centimeters back, and that will maybe give you access to that external rotation into the arm that we want to have. So the bicep next to the ear is rolling up towards the sky, and the tricep is sort of drawing down and cutting back. And we're pulling those shoulder blades flat to the back as we're extending the undercarriage of the body forward. And the subtle pulling into the belly, particularly if you're kind of falling through the posture, just zipping that lower band of abdominal muscles up is key. Okay, cool. And then we'll inhale, come up from there, onto all fours, and we're going to set our knees and feet hip distance apart. You can get rid of your blocks for now. Hands onto the mat, shoulder width apart. We want to find our optimal distance between the hands and the feet by coming into a plank position. So stacking the joints of the arms on top of each other, driving into the heels, feeling the belly is zipping up, and then from there take an exhale and lift your hips up and push back into downward facing dog. So you're striving to sharpen the sitting bones up towards the sky and drag the heels down at the same time. You want to let the head hang loose, so you're not using the neck muscles at all. Shoulder blades are taking most of the weight. And then flatten the hands down. Really try and spread the fingers and get that space between the index finger and the thumb to root down. And then release the knees down to the floor. So a lot of the action that we want to have in downward facing dog, we need to concentrate into the legs, but it's sometimes difficult to get that sensation. So you're going to take a block and you're going to put it between your thighs, and it's kind of why I've taken off my slippery pants, so that you can get the block to grip there, right? And you want to have it in a position where you can still keep your feet and knees hip distance apart. Then you'll come back into your downward facing dog, curling the toes underneath with this block between the thighs, and squeeze the block between the thighs and lift it kind of back. Try and see if you can kind of roll it back and up. So if you've got a lot of mobility in the hips, maybe that'll be too much and your knees will start to taper together. So we just want to lift the inner thigh back and up to the point that the knees are pointing where the toes are pointing, and your feet should be kind of parallel to one another. So the outside edges of the feet parallel to the outside edges of the mat, and then push strongly into the arms to try to use the action of the legs to take a little bit of weight out of the arms and enable you to lift the sitting bones a little bit higher up and back. All right. And then you can release your knees down, you can get rid of the block and try to mimic that same action now that we did. So we'll repeat downward facing dog again. Now we've got the sensory feedback from the block, we can repeat downward facing dog and just see how the posture feels different. So lifting up the legs are much more online now, and you can imagine the block is still there. Feel that sort of squeezing in towards the midline and the lifting of the block up and back, and how pushing into the arms becomes a little bit easier when the legs are really fired up and the thigh muscle is sucking onto the bone. The kneecaps are pulled up awake and alive, and the heels are drawing down. Awesome. Cool. And then you can release down and just make your way into a standing posture. So we'll be using a block again. I'm going to put the block between the thighs. And so, where should you put the block? If I put the block really high up, I can't bring my feet to hip distance apart, right? So I want to kind of have it mid-thigh, and depending on kind of the width of your hip bones and all those other kinds of things, you can adjust the block to find your optimal position, right? So you're turning the toes in ever so slightly, and then imagine that you're screwing your feet into the floor, and as you screw your feet into the floor, you'll feel the pressurization of the block between the thighs. Keep subtly squeezing the outer thigh towards the inner thigh, interlacing your fingers, flipping the palms away from you, draw the shoulders back and down, and lift the arms up, pushing the thumbs against each other to broaden across the palm of the hand, and then lifting the front arm up as you feel like you're drawing the back arm down. So the thumbs are kind of reaching up towards the sky, and the pinky finger is drawing down towards the top of the head. And feel the action of squeezing the block between the legs and how that helps you to get a bit more length into the side body and into the arms. And try to draw the shoulders away from the ears down the back. So this rotation into the arm, it's like the pinky finger side of the arm is drawing down the back arm and helping to root down into your heels. So don't worry about kind of taking the arms too far back and arching into the back. You want to try and keep yourself constrained by squeezing the block and then pulling those the belly and the bottom ribs in. And then exhale, release the arms down. All right, so the block just kind of gives us this idea or this experience of how much engaging the legs is actually involved in maintaining correct alignment in the torso while we're stretching out. So changing the interlace of your fingers again. Might feel a little bit different now. Shoulders back and down, reaching the arms up. And then as you extend upward, try and imagine that you're sort of squeezing your elbows in also towards the midline to lengthen up a bit more. Shoulders away from the ears. Hands kind of back over the head. Push the heels into the floor, the heels of the feet into the floor. Squeeze the block. And feel like as you squeeze the block, how your buttocks can get involved and move slightly forward as you pull that band of lower abdominal muscles in below the belly button. I mean, if all of this is madness, then just reach your hands up and squeeze a block between your thighs. All right? And then you can release the hands down. Get rid of the block. So it's just trying to get around this idea of the blocks and straps being crutches. You know, they more should be framed as teaching apparatus. We're going to go into tree pose, but we'll start in mountain pose. So try to bring your ball mounds of your big toes and heels together. Okay, big toes as well, lifting the rest of the toes up and spreading them down onto the mat as best as you can. Getting the outside edges of the feet also to ground down, and then lifting the inner arch of the foot up as best as you can. So you might not actually be able to lift the inner arch of the foot up, but feel as you try to do that the legs become a little bit more awake and alive, right? Shoulders back and down, hands extending down to the floor, inner elbows have rolled forward, and the shoulder blades are flat to the back as we broaden across the collarbones. We'll go into tree pose now. So try and keep the right side of your body, the left side of your body totally undisturbed. Okay, so that remains in mountain pose, and you turn the right leg out to the side. Then lift the right leg up and place the right foot high up into the inner left thigh. And just get your balance here. So sometimes looking a few feet in front of you on the floor and finding a point of focus helps with balance. Okay. Otherwise, once you get your balance, feel the sensory shadow of the block on the left leg and how you were squeezing the left leg in towards the block, and push the left leg back against the right foot. And feel as you do that you can fire up the right buttock to move the bum forward slightly so it stretches the inside edge of your leg a little bit more out to the side and takes the outer leg back towards the buttock. And once you've got all of that in place, turn your arms out and start to reach the arms up. And then as your hands come into sort of shoulder width apart, strive up into the fingernails and draw the shoulders away from the ears. And then push into your standing leg's foot a little bit more and see if you can fire that kneecap up a bit more. And then buttocks moving forward and belly drawing in. You can sway a little bit, there is a breeze. So, you know, just if you find this posture challenging, just think about how trees feel all day long, just standing with their arms in the air like this. It's exhausting. And then you can slowly release your hands down, bring your knee to the chest and down. Classic yoga joke, classic tree joke. Okay. All right, so standing again in mountain pose, lifting the toes, spreading them down onto the floor, outside edges of the feet rooting down. And feel like there's a little horseshoe shape on the back heel that you also want to try and ground down equally. So just check in. Where do you tend? Do you tend to fall into the inner heel or the outer heel? And see if you can balance that out a little bit. Then pulling up through the kneecaps again, shoulders back and down, mountain pose. Now keep the right side of the body undisturbed as you take the left leg out to the side, lift the left leg up, place the foot into the inner thigh. Get your balance. Also can look a few feet in front of you as before. And then push the leg against the foot the way that you squeeze the block between your thighs. Inside edge of the groin should extend out as a result of that, and the outer thigh moving back towards the buttocks, and then moving the buttocks slightly forward to get that sensation. Turning the palms out, so the whole rotation of the arm from the shoulders, and then as we reach up, we can feel the outer shoulder blades lifting up. We draw the inner shoulder blades down slightly, and then strive up into the fingernails. So you feel like you you're rooting down and extending up equally, and how both of those things kind of help. And that isn't only in the hands and the feet, but also as you reach the arm up, the front chest up, draw the shoulder blades down. So the front body is lifting up and the back body is drawing down. And the belly drawing in and the buttocks moving forward all help to open across the groin a little bit more. And then exhale, we slowly release the hands down, bring the knee to the chest, and relax, shake it out. Okay, so we've got this nice opening across the groin. We'll work into Warrior Two. So you can stand sideways on your mats, okay? You step your feet wide apart. That's it, okay? So you'll turn your left toes out first, actually. Turning the left toes out and turning the right toes slightly in. And remember, we're looking for that bisecting line coming from the front foot and cutting that back foot in half. So if you're able to draw a line on your mat, I'd recommend doing that just because it helps with this kind of key alignment for these open hip postures. Then the kneecaps are awake and alive. Okay, so the pushing into the feet is not about dumping into the feet. Okay, we ground into the feet, but then we pull up through the legs into the hips. Arms up from the shoulders, flip the palms over to get that rotation from the shoulder, to get the shoulders away from the ears. Keep the shoulders away from the ears, turn the palms down, take a deep inhale here, and then exhale, we're going to bend that front knee. Try to come to a 90-degree angle. So the front knee is over the front ankle, okay, and the back leg remains straight and strong. Shoulder blades drawing towards each other the same way your buttocks are drawing towards each other to open across the groin and open across the chest. And then look through the middle finger of your front hand and see if by pushing more into the outside edge of the back foot, you can get the inner back thigh to activate and lift up onto the bone, and you can bend the front knee a little bit more to that 90-degree angle. Try not to arch into your back in this posture. Try and pull the belly in and zip everything up. So like you're zipping up tight jeans, right? Deep inhale, exhale, bend the knee a little bit more. And then inhale coming up. We're just going to turn the left toes in and we'll turn the right toes out. So basically just repeating everything on the other side and just being conscious of keeping as much weight in that back foot as possible and not just dumping into the front foot. So shoulders away from the ears, deep inhale. As you exhale and bend the front knee, it's useful to feel as though someone is pulling on your back hand so that you slowly bend and try to stay vertical over your hips. You can look through the middle finger of your front hand, shoulders away from the ears, but just keep a little bit of attention in your back hand as well. So pull the belly in slightly, move the buttocks forward, and lift that inner back thigh up onto the bone. Bend the front knee a little bit more. Keep breathing. Keep the jaw and the throat soft and relaxed. And try to guide the front knee towards the baby toe side of the foot if it's dumping in towards the big toe side. Inhale, straighten the legs up again. Turning the toes in. Release the hands to the waist and just take a breather. And then you can step the feet together and just shake it out. So yeah, the idea is trying to be able to not only open up, but to be able to stabilize and draw back in towards the hips. All right, step your feet wide apart again. So we're going to work into extended side angle, and you're going to take your blocks and place them onto the outsides of your feet, so the back side of your mat at foot size. All right, and we're going to turn the left toes out and turn the right toes slightly in, pushing into the outside edge of the back foot. So the block is going to be here to kind of lift the floor up to your hand so that you don't have to get the hand all the way to the floor. And we'll start by taking the block on the inside, and then we'll take it onto the outside and feel the difference, right? So inhale, arms up, pushing into the outside edge of the back foot, and exhale, bend the front knee. Take your hand down to the block, take your back hand onto your back hip, and take the block onto the inside, placing your hand onto the block, sort of push with the arm against the knee slightly to open up across the groin and to push into the outside edge of the back foot a bit more. So just feeling the action in the leg and then reaching the top arm up towards the sky, turn the palm so it's over the head, but turn from the shoulder to draw the shoulder away from the ear, and then exhale, drop the arm over the top of the head. So the palm is facing down, and you're using that sort of subtle action of the arm pushing against the knee to open up the groin as you reach and extend. Try and get a straight line from the outside edge of the back foot to the top fingernails. Awesome. And then we'll take it inhale, we'll come back up, straightening both legs. You can move that block out of the way just in case it gets in the way. and then turning the left toes in, turn the right toes out, deep inhale here, and exhale, bend the front knee. Take your back hand to your back hip, grab your block and place it onto the inside of the foot. So get that positioning and that stability, and then push the arm and the knee against each other and try to open the torso, kind of open towards the sky by drawing your top shoulder back, moving your bottom ribs towards the belly button towards the top ribs, and then reaching your top arm up, turning the palm over the head, and exhale, dropping the arm directly over there. That's perfect. So really trying to feel an extension through the whole side body, and that back leg needs to be awake and alive to keep a bit of pressure off the front leg, but subtly push the arm against the knee to open up that front groin a bit more. Awesome. And then we inhale, come back up, straighten both legs, take the block out to the side, turning both feet in. Just take a breather here. Everything making sense? No questions? Okay. Turning the left toes out. Now the block will stay on the outside. It's more of the traditional positioning. Okay, so arms up, deep inhale. Exhale, bend the front knee. You can take your back hand to your back hip for now, just to place the block. And then the block is on the outside. It's harder now to kind of draw the leg out the way that we were doing by pushing against the leg with the arm. We're trying to create that same action, but we're using the musculature of the buttocks and the outer thigh. So feel like you're gluing the leg to the arm, push into the outside edge of that foot, and as you like, you can slowly turn the block down and eventually come deeper and deeper into the pose, right, until your hand comes to the floor. And then take the top arm up, turn the arm over the head, and bring it over and extend and reach. So strong action the outside edge of that back foot. Take your back foot a bit further away if you're struggling to get the depth of the posture, so that top hip is not hiking up. But obviously the block lifting the sort of floor up to your hand can also help with that if you don't have the flexibility to go to that depth. And then inhale, come all the way up, turning the feet in, get rid of that block, and turning the feet out the other side. Arms up, shoulders away from the ears. If you need to flip the palms to get that sensation, that's all good. Then exhale, bend the right knee. Hand comes onto the outside of the foot, onto the block. Back hand can be on the hip initially, just so that you can concentrate on getting the position correct. Now glue the leg to the arm. Feel how by engaging the right buttocks and pulling the leg back into place, you can get that opening across the hip. And then reach the top arm up, turn the palm over the head, and exhale, lengthen and extend. From the outside edge of the back foot to the top fingernails. And as need be, you can slowly dial the block down until eventually you get your hand to the floor. So extending and lengthening, try and get a nice 90-degree angle on that front knee, and strong action in the outside edge of the back foot. Top shoulder away from the top ear. If it catches in your top shoulder, you can always swing your arm from underneath. Alright, and then push into the outside edge of the back foot. Inhale, come all the way up. Turning the toes in, hands to the chest, and hop the feet together. And just shake it out. Alright, so yeah, like a lot of the positions often feel like we just kind of, we get up, set up in the position and we just kind of dump, right? We want to feel like we're constantly kind of engaging and pulling everything back into place, so that as we're getting more flexible and openness in the groins and all the major joints, I guess, we also have that ability to control at the end range motion. Right. All right, so standing towards the back of your mat now, you can take both of your blocks. So you guys can face forward with both blocks in hand. You're going to turn the left toes out and step the right foot forward, squaring your hips off. You're going to inhale, raise the arms up, and exhale, extend forward and down, so that we can place the blocks underneath the shoulders, right? So they should be slightly back from, you shouldn't be extending past the foot. They should be slightly back from the front of the foot, depending on the length of your torso. And then make sure those back toes are turned in to the point where you can still pull the outside edge of the back hip slightly forward and pull the front leg's hip slightly back. So your hands on the blocks, you're pushing into the blocks, you're turning the inner elbow forward to draw the shoulder away from the ear. You're looking slightly ahead of you. In fact, you can look a little bit further ahead to feel this extension of the undercarriage forward. And then once you've got that extension, bring your head to a neutral position and fire up the knees a little bit more. So pulling the thigh muscles up onto the bone, especially that back leg. You really want to feel like you're trying to slide the back heel away from you along the sticky mat. Okay, and that helps to turn the thigh muscles on the back leg. Breathing the whole time, and the intent here is to extend the undercarriage of the torso forward, and in time you can slowly start to dial the blocks down till eventually the sort of hands come to the floor, but try not to round the back too much on your way down. Obviously there will be some rounding in the spine, but you want to try and strive forward rather than taking that shortcut of just rounding the back over and putting your head down onto your knee. The ball mount of the big toe here is actually key. If you keep that grounded down, you get much more of an active engagement in that front leg. Okay, then you can take the blocks back and dial them up if you dial them down, and then to come out you bend the front knee, you step forward and you stand up and shake it out. You can leave the blocks there or you can take them back to the back of the mat. We'll repeat on the other side, of course. So turning the right toes out, stepping the left foot forward, squaring the hips off as best as you're able. So we don't want a total hard squaring, but we just want to be able to kind of turn that back foot in and try and get a little bit of that sort of rotation that feels like the back inner thigh is moving back. So once that's all squared off and the shoulders are squared off, inhale, raise your arms up, extend forward and down, placing your hands onto the blocks, and then positioning the blocks as need be so that they're directly underneath the shoulders. So you want to turn the inner elbows forward like we said before, shoulders away from the ears. Lengthening the undercarriage forward is kind of facilitated by the drawing of the shoulders back onto the back. Lengthening out of the waist, ball mount of the big toe grounding down, kneecaps awake and alive, thigh muscles pulling onto the bone, back heel sliding away from you on the sticky mat. It's not actually sliding anywhere, but just pushing into it is giving you that sensation of firing up the back leg a bit more. And then once you've got everything in place, then you start to hinge forward, and the hinging is really happening kind of at the sort of hip, lower back area. As you come down, you don't want to start rounding the spine over or collapsing the chest and throat in. So just breathing wherever you're able to hold that. Strong action in the legs. And then inhale, coming up, bending the front knee, stepping forward and standing up. So we're going to work into Warrior 3, but we're basically going to just get a sensation of what we're trying to do. What we're trying to do a lot of the time in Warrior 3 is this hinging action, so keeping the one side of the body almost kind of in mountain pose, and then just kind of tilting forward really is what's happening in Warrior 3. So we're going to use the blocks as a kind of prop, okay, well just as a sense of, you're going to stand in mountain pose and you're going to try and keep the one side of the body unperturbed and just hinge at the hip and kind of grab onto the block, stand up, and then take the block and put it back down. It looks pretty simple. It's basically sometimes called a Romanian deadlift, right? So you can keep your other hand on the hip, and it's just about getting the sense of the tilt happening and moving the torso and the leg sort of in unison, right? So that they counterbalance each other. So if you bend forward and then lift the leg up, it's sometimes a little bit more difficult to balance, or you just don't get that kind of unifying feeling in the posture, right? So just do it a couple of times to get a sensation for that, right? And obviously it's same arm, same leg. So as the leg lifts up, and the leg that's lifting up is the one with the hand on the hip. So you tilt forward with the leg that's on the floor and the hand grabs the block. So just getting a sensation for that. As you do it, can you notice, are you trying to flare your hips out to the side? So are you kind of doing that, right? Can you keep everything relatively squared to the front? And we'll work on that alignment now as well. Okay, so you can take your blocks back towards the back of the mat. Now that we've got a sense of what we're going to be trying to do, okay, turning the left toes out slightly, we step the right foot forward, so we transition through this Parsvottanasana kind of pyramid pose. So arms up, inhale, exhale, taking the blocks down on either side of the front foot. Then we bend the front knee, we take the blocks about a torso and arm's length forward, and we lift up and we straighten that standing leg, pulling up through the kneecap, squaring the hips off, pointing the toes down at the floor, and lengthening the undercarriage of the body forward as you draw the shoulders away from the ears. So kind of coming into this balance. So if you're able to, can you raise one arm up and then bring it down onto the block, and the other arm, morning Julie, and down, and then you can bend the front knee and step back, take the blocks back, step forward and come up. Okay, so we're going to repeat that again on the other side. So turning the right toes out, we step the left foot forward, we come to square. We inhale, raise the arms up, and we exhale, extend forward and place our hands onto the block. Then we bend the front knee, we take the blocks about an arm's length forward, and we stand up into the front leg and come into our balance. So the intent here is to keep the front leg awake and alive, to pull the hips to square, to point the toes down at the floor, to drive into the back heel, and you're trying to lift and extend the body forward, because remember, in time we're going to be doing this with no sort of arms on the blocks, right? So get your legs awake and try and lift up as high as you can. You can even come up onto your fingertips on the blocks and start to take a little bit less weight into the blocks, right? And then we'll come out by bending the front knee, we step back, we bring our blocks back to our foot, and you can step forward from there and stand up and just shake it out. All right, so Warrior 3 also requires some stuff in the arms. So we're going to take our straps. Here you go. And then once you've got this loop in place, you can just check and make sure that it's shoulder width. Okay, so it should be maybe a little bit wider than shoulder width is better. You get a little bit more wriggle room in terms of what's happening in the shoulders themselves, and just have the outside of the strap kind of with the excess of the strap just hanging over your arm, so that when you bring it over your head it just kind of goes past the shoulder, it doesn't slap you in the face. And you want to stand, you can stand however you want at this point, with your arms, the belt is on the forearms, and we're raising the arms up, and then we're hitting out into the belt in such a way that you're almost trying to kind of sort of hit the sort of break the belt in half, right? But the actual action that you're going for is like this, right? So you're kind of spiraling your arms out, and as though you're trying to turn your thumbs apart, but you're not. Your hands are staying facing each other, but you're trying to get the sensation of kind of rolling the shoulder down, rolling this whole shoulder down, and turning the arm out, and then extending out into the arms, right? So you're getting space between the head and the sort of the neck and the sides of the arms, and a lot of activation and engagement into these shoulder blades here and the muscles in the side body. And really that spiraling and opening is also kind of opening the chest. So we're bringing a lot of the opening of the chest into play here. All right, and then you can release down, and then you can kind of, I'm sure, sort of get a sense of where we're going. So we're going to stand towards the back of the mat. Okay, feet together initially. Okay, and then you're going to turn the left toes out. You're going to step the right foot forward. Make sure you can kind of square the hips off. Then we inhale, raise the arms up above the head. We exhale, bend that front knee, so we're transitioning through this Warrior 1 pose. And then we're going to tilt the body over the front leg, shift our weight into the front leg, and stand up, and then hit out into the belt with the arms as you drive into the back leg. Pull the front leg's kneecap up, and try and turn the back toes towards the floor as you drive into the back heel. Extend and lengthen, belly on line, lengthen, extend, and when you're ready, you bend the front knee, take the back foot down, stand up, straighten, and come out. Awesome. All right. Okay. So it's a good pose. It's a strong pose. You really get a sense of how important the engagement of the shoulders and the arms is, right? So try it again on the other side. Obviously you guys standing in the front, I'm just showing from the other side. So standing towards the back of the mat, belt on your forearms. You can already start to kind of hit out into the belt to make sure that it doesn't go anywhere, right? And then we step the left foot forward, the right toes are turned out slightly. We're going to raise the arms up over the head, hitting out into the belt, shoulders away from the ears. Bend the front knee, that's your warrior one pose. Okay, and then you tilt the torso over the front leg, shift your weight into the front leg, lift the back leg up and find your balance, and then strive into both legs. So push the standing leg's heel into the floor, reach into the back heel, lengthen and extend, hit the belt out and draw the shoulders away from the ears. Pull the belly in a little bit if you're able to. Okay, strong work, keep breathing. And then bend the front knee, step back, stand up. You release your belt down and just shake it out. And take a rest with your feet wide to the edges of the mat. And let your body hang forward and down, grabbing onto opposite elbows and letting the body hang. So the knees can be micro bent as well. If you feel like that'll give you more access to the back. And you can gently sway a little bit. And then we'll come into a squat position, just to also release the back a bit. So if you're not able to come into a standard squatting position with your heels down on the floor, all right, your heels maybe are hiking up, then you can put a block underneath each heel, and then you've got that position. Or maybe you can get your heels down, but it feels like it's loading your hips too much. Then you can put a block or two under your bum and kind of sit in a squatting position, which will still give you a little bit of a sense of the kind of opening into the hips, and you can extend forward through your legs to get a bit of tractioning into the back. So you can keep your bum on the blocks, or you can get rid of them and feel like you're lengthening forward to just traction out that back. If you're not feeling like the back is getting any traction or release, then you can take your arms out to the side and push a little bit more against your legs to lengthen forward a bit more. So obviously it works a bit more into the hips, but you can feel that you're getting a bit more release into the back. And this is kind of the introduction, or the sort of introduction to kind of the malasana that we would do as well, where the feet would be together and the hands would wrap around the backs of the ankles, which is also a really nice back release. Okay, awesome. And then from there, we're going to come and sit and extend our legs out. You can just shake them out a little bit, especially if they're kind of been working quite hard. And we're going to come into a seated twist. So we'll take the right leg up, take the right leg over the left, and tuck the left leg next to your right buttock. So the sort of thing that you need to check in with here is that both buttock bones can stay down on the floor. If they can't, then it's better to rather keep the underneath leg extended forward. So you can do either or. It's still getting a twist. One just works a little bit deeper into the hip, this buttock here. So rooting that buttock down, grab around the front shin with the left hand, right hand back behind you, and then pull yourself up towards your legs and push your buttocks into the floor. And you can feel the difference between just letting the buttock hike up and pushing it down actively. It actually pulls, the leg hits against your arm, and so you get this extra lift and extension into the spine. So deep inhale into the crown of the head, and exhale, twist towards the right. As you turn towards the right, can you externally rotate the right arm out? Get the shoulder blade to tuck in. So you should feel not only some twisting, but a release into the back. So use your exhale breath to soften as much as you need to without losing height. Inhale breath to remind you to sit up taller. So you're just basically in time unwinding by winding, right? And then drop your chin to the chest, turn to face towards the front, untie your bottom leg and untie the top leg, and then we go the other side. So left leg up, left leg over right, right tucks underneath. Same thing here, check and see, are both of your buttock bones down on the floor? If they're not, then straighten the bottom leg. Grab around the front of your shin with your right hand, left hand back behind you, and push the left buttock down. Feel the kick of the arm and the leg against each other. Pull against the arm and the leg to lift yourself up. And then from there, exhale, twist towards the left. Just keep breathing to try to make sure, or to ensure that you don't sort of tighten up in your twist and make it kind of static. You want to feel this kind of pulsing, slowly untying movement with the breath. So really get that left buttock down as best as you can. So the inhale lengthens the spine, the exhale lets go of tension as we turn. And then we drop the chin to the chest, turn to face towards the front. Extending the bottom leg first and then the top leg. We'll go into a forward fold using the belts and the blocks as well. So you sit up on a block to start with your knees bent. Make sure your belt is handy. Okay, and you can keep the loop on the edge of the belt and just pull it long so that you get the maximum length of the belt that's available to you. And then we're going to basically shift the block over towards the left buttock and grab the right foot and tuck it underneath, or kind of next to the body. So it's Virasana, so eventually we'll be able to sit on the floor and do this, and the hip and the heel should not be underneath each other. Your heel of your foot should be next to your hip. Then from here you can take your belt and put it onto your left foot, leaning back slightly, and then raising up. As you're able to, you can hold onto the belt and kind of try and find this optimal positioning so that the arm and the leg and the torso are balancing each other out. Okay, but if you're able to hold onto the foot, that's also fine. And then you can imagine almost that you're kind of flattening the foot towards an imaginary wall in front of you as you draw the shoulders away from the ears. It's Heron pose, Kranchasana. We're rolling the inner elbows upward towards the sky, right? So this external rotation of the arm to get the shoulders away from the ears, and then striving up. Kneecap awake and alive, and using the counterbalance of the leg to kind of come a little bit further back maybe with the torso. So sometimes people will see these kinds of postures and they'll assume that they can apply them in a self-defense situation, but it's not yoga. You can't really use it at all for that sort of thing. It's the only kind of defense is it's like defense against the self, I guess. But it's a very deep rabbit hole. All right, and then bend the knee, take the foot back down. Now you can extend the leg along, and whether you want to use the belts or not, you can either reach towards your foot or you can hold the belt. So just a slight forward fold. Remember, the key with forward folds is not to round the spine over, but to try to get extension in the torso and then lengthen forward and down and find neutral back of the neck. And just working to within the range that you have. So eventually, ideally, you want to come off the block and be able to do this on the floor. But if you do that, make sure that you're not dumping over. If this leg can't come down, this buttock can't come down, you're getting this kind of tilt in the pelvis, rather kind of re-establish with the block underneath the buttock as you come into your fold. That's it. So remember, the belt helps us to get this activation of the shoulder blades together towards each other. So try not to pull with the arms, but try and get the shoulder blades to tuck towards each other and open the front of the torso. Okay. And then from there you come up to change. You basically bend the front leg, the extended leg, then you bring the leg next to you up, and then you slide the block over like an old typewriter. The millennials, it's a machine that they used to use to write words onto paper. Okay, and then you extend, you take your leg next to you first. That's for any of the millennials that watch the video on the YouTubes. Okay, so the foot, remember, it's not directly underneath the bum. Your hip should be, it should be out to the side, and your buttock is hanging like a ripe fruit, right? You take the belt underneath the foot, you lean back, and then you work from there first. So the belt, just giving you that little bit of extra space. So if you're going to like a point where you kind of, it's like a stretch to try and get to your foot, you're not going to be able to do things like get your shoulders away from your ears and roll the arms out. It's just going to be like doing anything you can to hold it together. So this just gives you that little bit of extra space to be able to do these more nuanced things, lift the chest up, not let the spine round. You practice correct form and muscular engagement and all those other kinds of things on your way to the ultimate expression of the posture, whatever that means. Okay, shoulders away from the ears, lifting the sternum up. It's almost like feeling like you're trying to lift your heart up towards your foot. I guess you could think of your arms as like wings, like heron wings, right? I don't know why this pose is called heron pose, but it is. All right, and then to bend the knee, take the foot back down to the floor, extend the leg out. You can lift up and extend forward, or you can use a belt onto that front foot and come into the position here. Once again on this side, without the block, it basically looks like that. Okay, so the back of the leg is extending forward, the top of the leg drawing back towards the hip, shoulders away from the ears. Try not to bend the elbows, but rather work with straight arms to pull the shoulder blades together. Your extended legs, foot is awake and alive initially. In time, we want to be able to keep extension and soften the foot slightly so that the back of the calf can soften and the back of the knee can flatten down to the floor. Okay, and then inhale, come up from there. If you're still on your block, same difference. You'll basically bring the legs back up, bring your block back to the center, and then extend your legs out. If you like to do Paschimottanasana, you can stay on a block. If you're unable, in other words, to sit in an upright position with your legs extended along the floor, and you find yourself falling back onto your tailbone, it's better to work with a block under your bum. Otherwise, we'll work with the block between the ankles as well. So this just keeps the feet a little bit apart so that you can use your belt on the feet and pull on the belt without the feet drifting towards each other, getting squeezed towards each other. And really, you just wrap your arms in as much as you need to keep the arms straight, the arms straight, so that the pulling is actually happening from that upper back. So as you kind of pull, you don't want to pull with the arms because the back will remain rounded. If you pull with the back, it naturally straightens the back up. And then, this is a good Paschimottanasana. The back is straight, the legs are straight. You don't have to go into a forward fold, right? You're trying to develop this, the strength in the back and mobility that's coming from the hip as you hinge forward. So if you round the spine, the opposite is actually happening. The hips aren't really getting any work. You can feel the backs of the legs don't get the same amount of stretch. And we're starting to weaken the muscles of the back by overextending them. So zipping everything up and then hinging forward, you get much more stretch as you use your torso like a lever. And then the contraction of the back muscles is actually what's opening the front body up. So wherever you're able to come to, shoulders away from the ears, head in a nice neutral position so the back of the neck is long and sternum lifting towards the throat. Kneecaps awake and alive. So the more we activate the muscles on the top of the leg, the more the muscles underneath the leg will be encouraged by the nervous system to relax. All right. And stay there for as long as you like. If you're really enjoying it, you can take the blocks out, and now we'll go into our Shavasana. So make sure that you are warm and comfortable. As you shimmy down, you're going to lie down onto your back and then hug your knees to your chest. And you can rock a little bit from side to side, taking the knees in circles if need be, just to like mobilize into all the different parts of the back and the hips. And then once you feel like you've sort of realigned everything and shook things out, keep your knees bent and release 1 foot at a time down to the floor with knees bent. Then straighten the legs along the floor, feet a little bit wider than hip distance apart, toes flopping out to the side. Push into your elbows, tuck the shoulder blades flat back behind you. Take your arms alongside the body with the palms facing up. And a little bit of a tuck in the chin to elongate the back of the neck, and you allow your eyes to close. Use a few nice deep inhales and exhales just to really let go and sink and settle into the posture. So you almost want to try to use the exhale breath to increase your body weight. Try and make yourself as heavy as possible as you sink down against onto the ground, into the floor. So we have the relaxation of the muscles, the major big muscles of the body. And then we can relax other places as well by breathing into parts of the body that aren't traditionally associated with breath. So you can breathe into the jaw, and as you exhale, drop the jaw slightly, relaxing the tongue and the throat. You can breathe into the eyes, and as you exhale, allow the eyes to soften away from the eyelids. You can breathe into the forehead and the temples. And as you exhale, relax there, imagining the brain sort of dropping away from the front of the skull towards the back of the skull. You can breathe into the upper back and exhale, softening there. Feel that relaxation spreading through the shoulders, down the arms, into the palms of the hands and the fingers. You can breathe into the upper chest. And as you exhale, relax the whole front body, all the way down into the belly, releasing tension in your breath and allowing the breath to just come and go naturally. You can breathe into the groin and the buttock area and relax tension there as you exhale. And you can breathe into the legs, relaxing the thighs, the backs of the thighs, the knees, the calves, the shins, feet and toes, all on a long exhale breath. If you have any lower back discomfort, you can bend your knees and rest the knees together with the feet slightly apart so that you can still be in a relaxed position, but your lower back can feel a little bit supported and rounded. So Shavasana is the neutralizing pose. It's coming back to basics, coming back to ground. Arguably the most natural configuration of the body, lying on the floor in this position. So try to mimic that spacious relaxation that you feel in your body by allowing more space into the mind, or breathing space into the mind. letting the mind also come to its neutral space, which is the space in which thoughts and sensations arise and pass away. The space remains. Without disturbing the peace in the mind and body that you've allowed to come into your awareness, basically, you've allowed to happen by just relaxing. Try to just let as little activity as possible happen as you start to reawaken from your practice, or start to reawaken the body. So firstly, just let the breath deepen slightly. Then just let your awareness feel out the weight of your arms, your legs, your head and the torso. Gently bring one hand at a time to rest on your belly, on your abdomen. And when both of your hands are on your belly, you can take a nice deep inhale into the belly, into the hands, and exhale side out. And drawing your knees to your chest, roll over onto your right side into a fetal position, supporting the head with the right hand and arm, and tucking the chin slightly to further round the spine. Then place your left hand on the floor and push into the left hand with the eyes closed. If possible, come up into a comfortable seated posture. The spine is upright, the shoulders are relaxed and down, chin parallel to the floor and the throat open. So ideally, through the asana practice, the physical practice of yoga, we come into a balance of being alert and relaxed both at the same time. Both body and mind, both alert and relaxed. Bring your hands up in front of your heart in prayer position, raising the hands up between the eyebrows and back down to the heart. Namaste. Om Bolo Sat Guru Bhagavan Ki. Thanks very much, everybody. Hope you have a cool rest of the day and stay out of trouble. If you have any lingering pain or discomfort, you can chat to me after class. and hope to see you in the future. Ciao.